Hello everyone, David Lee here. Today we'll be talking about the different types of learning narratives that will help you and your team visually see what the students will experience. Visualizing a compelling story where the students are the heroes of the narrative and we are the mentors. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon as well to be notified for more project-based learning videos like this. The first one is called Visual Learning Narrative, a simple, clean graphic that contains the learning narrative that contains a clear beginning, middle, and end. This graphic would usually be placed in the unit plan to help teachers gain a holistic understanding of how all the standards are interconnected. Here's an example of a visual learning narrative for a 5th grade science unit that consisted of the following next generation science standards. The entry event of this learning narrative was the phenomenon of algal bloom. Algal bloom is a fast accumulation of algae in bodies of water due to an excess of nutrients, usually nitrogen or phosphorus, that comes from urban runoff and fertilizer runoff. As a result, this phenomenon can affect all parts of the environment. Students would be shown multiple images of algal bloom, as well as the opportunity to take a field trip to visit an area with algal bloom. The goal was to increase curiosity from the students and also have them want to understand the phenomenon. During the entry event, students would generate questions that would fall into 3 categories. The first category of questions would obviously be the cause of algal bloom. What is algal bloom? What is causing algal bloom? The second category of questions would be about plant growth. What is making the algae grow? How does that work? The third category of questions students would ask is the actual water contamination and how that affects the environment. How does this affect other parts of the ecosystem? What are the consequences for the environment? Each of these categories of questions involves the learning of at least one of the standards of the unit. Each of these sets of questions led to a path of inquiry, a cycle of asking questions, investigating, creating, and reflecting, where students would investigate the areas of algal bloom, plant growth, and water contamination. So for these specific questions, our protagonists would use relevant resources to research the topic, learn how algal blooms are caused, and learn about some of the consequences of the phenomenon. After learning that algal blooms are caused by urban runoff and soil erosion due to rain, students can ask questions and investigate how rain works to ultimately develop a model to explain how water cycles from the Earth's surface to the atmosphere and back again. For questions about plant growth, students would perform plant experiments and visit the local rainforest to learn how plants need air and water to grow. For the questions, how does this affect the other parts of the ecosystem, and what are the consequences for the environment? Students would compare 2 environments, an environment with algal bloom and a similar environment that is healthy, that does not have algal bloom. The goal is to show the difference between a healthy environment that contains a sustainable system of energy flow and matter movement with the algal bloom environment, where parts of the system are affected, which then affects the overall health of the environment. At this point, students have already learned about one of the Earth's spheres, the atmosphere. Now students can then zoom out and see how the geosphere, biosphere, hydrosphere, and the atmosphere interact within the algal bloom context. So what will the students do with all their new learnings? It's the so what now part of the unit. This is when students have to identify a specific problem or a task that they have to complete to reduce the occurrence of algal bloom. How might we reduce the development of algal bloom? Specifically, how will we reduce the amount of soil erosion and urban runoff that causes algal bloom? After identifying the problem, our protagonists would develop, create, and test solutions that would reduce the amount of nutrients that goes into different bodies of water, basically reducing soil erosion and urban runoff. Once they finalize their solutions, they would then present their work and their learnings to an authentic audience, probably to the community and the stakeholders that are affected by algal bloom.